Welcome to Light Novel Sound, where we bring your favorite light novels to life through immersive audiobooks that you can listen to for free. Today, we're diving into Solo Farming in the Tower, a fantasy adventure written by Lee Hak-young and originally published on lightnovelworld.co. This story follows Sejun, an ordinary young man who stumbles into a mysterious dungeon filled with dangerous monsters and untold riches. But when he gets trapped in a hidden area with nothing but a handful of seeds, he must rely on his wits, resourcefulness, and determination to survive. Will he turn the odds in his favor, or will the tower claim yet another victim? If you enjoy this audiobook, please consider supporting the original author by reading Solo Farming in the Tower on lightnovelworld.co. Every bit of support helps keep these amazing stories going. And if you like what we do, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your engagement helps us bring more incredible stories to life. Now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the journey. Chapter 26, Multistory Farming. TL, Hanguk. Slurp, slurp. Munch, munch. Sejun woke up to the sound of something being eaten and hurriedly checked beside him. It's not here. The baby bear, which should have been sleeping next to him, was nowhere to be seen. Sejun had a hunch about who was making the eating noise. The baby bear seemed to have woken up hungry and started eating something. As Sejun got up from his spot and headed towards the source of the sound. Bang! Whoosh, whoosh. Bang! 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 The black rabbit rushed out of the burrow and swung its hammer at the food thief as punishment. Cooing? Confused and crying, the baby bear didn't understand why the black rabbit, which had treated it well until yesterday, was hitting it. Big brother, why are you doing this? However, bang! The black rabbit showed no mercy. Who dared to touch their storage? Bang! 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 The white rabbits also came out and surrounded the baby bear, stomping the ground with their feet to express their displeasure. They were angry that their carefully grown crops were being stolen and eaten without Sejun's permission. Don't be too mad. How much can a baby eat? Hey! The first thing Sejun noticed was that the baby bear had grown to the size of a medium-sized dog. Considering that it was the size of a small dog just yesterday, its growth rate was astonishing. And the thought that followed. How much would it have to eat to grow so fast? Sejun hurriedly checked the storage. The storage was significantly empty. About a third of the stored sweet potatoes and carrots had disappeared. The fact that the cherry tomatoes hadn't been touched somehow felt more irritating. Cooing. As soon as the baby bear saw Sejun, it rushed towards him, expecting him to protect it and asking to be hugged. Thud. It felt much heavier than yesterday, and its strength was completely different. Did bears always grow this fast? Sejun worried that having the bear around would eventually cause problems in their cave. It might even eat them if it got hungry enough. He suddenly felt a sense of crisis. And there was one more being that felt the same sense of crisis. The tower administrator is surprised why there's a baby crimson giant bear here. The tower administrator says that baby crimson giant bears are gluttonous creatures that can easily eat 100 kilograms a day if there's enough food. The tower administrator was annoyed. Humans' food storage was being plundered. They had been struggling to establish connections with the humans and were barely receiving anything in return. Of course, making connections with this human was quite satisfying. However, a baby crimson giant bear stealing food from human storage was unforgivable. Absolutely unforgivable. The tower administrator is furious at the baby crimson giant bear. A quest has been generated. Quest: drive the baby crimson giant bear out of the cave. Reward: 1 job skill. Penalty for refusal: death due to starvation. The tower administrator was so angry that even a reward was offered. The tower administrator urges you to hurry. The tower administrator says that in just a few days, the baby crimson giant bear will grow too big to leave the cave. Sejun felt the seriousness in the tower administrator's words. His survival instincts rang an alarm. He needed a plan. However, He couldn't come up with any ideas. Let's have a glass of honey water and think. He thought that supplying energy to his brain would bring good ideas. As Sejun picked up his tumbler and walked towards the bottle filled with honey. Waddle waddle. The baby bear diligently followed Sejun. Since the rabbits were angry at the bear, the only existence to protect it was the human in front of it. Gurgle. Gurgle. While Sejun was putting honey into the tumbler. Drip. Drip. The baby bear drooled on the floor, staring at the honey. Sejun's heart softened at the pitiful sight. Here. Sejun poured a little honey on the baby bear's paw. Munch. The baby bear finally achieved its purpose of following the sweet scent here. Slurp. The ultimate sweetness felt on its tongue was the first time the baby bear had ever tasted such sweetness. Delicious. Lick lick. The baby bear hurriedly licked its paw. Meanwhile, Sejun made honey water and shared it with the rabbits while thinking of a plan to send the baby bear away. That's when. That should work. Suddenly, an idea to send the baby bear away popped into Sejun's head. It really works when energy goes into the brain. Tap. Tap. Sejun carefully knocked on the poisonous honeybee's hive with his fingers. The poisonous honeybees were essential for this task. Buzz buzz. The bees quickly came out when their hive was disturbed. Guys, sorry for waking you up. Please help me. Buzz buzz. The bees circled in response to Sejun's words. Thank you. Please move this outside. Sejun pointed to a rope he had woven from leaves to use for escape. He planned to lift the baby bear with it. Rabbits, you go up and receive the rope. Squeak. Swoosh. Swish. The rabbits replied and went up to the hole in the cave ceiling. They would have liked to bring the rope up themselves, but the rope's weight made it impossible to jump out of the cave while carrying it. Buzz buzz. Buzz buzz. Meanwhile, the poisonous honeybees clung to the end of the rope and flew towards the hole in the ceiling. And then, he tied the other end of the rope around the baby bear's body. Munch? The baby bear looked confused as to why it was being tied up. Now it's time to go to your mom. Munch. Munch. The baby bear started crying at the mention of its mom. It seemed to have just remembered her. The poisonous honeybees carried the rope up, and the rabbits received it. Pull! Sejun raised the baby bear's body and shouted with his hands up in the air. Squeak! Swoosh! Swish! Buzz! Buzz! The rabbits and the poisonous honeybees joined forces to pull the rope. However, slurp! Slurp! The baby bear just kept licking its paw without moving. Let's try it again. This time, we'll pull simultaneously on 2. Ready? 1, 2. Squeak. Swoosh. Swish. Buzz. Buzz. At Sejun's second count, the rabbits and poisonous honeybees pulled with all their strength. The baby bear's body moved 5 centimeters. It's working. 1, 2. 1, 2. Following Sejun's command, the rabbits and honeybees managed to lift the bear cub, and after an hour, they finally got the cub out of the cave. Quest completed. As a quest reward, you have acquired the job skill, Seed Harvesting LV1. Seed Harvesting? Sejun checked the skill. Job skill, Seed Harvesting LV1. Slightly increases the probability of obtaining better seeds when harvesting crops. While Sejun was checking the skill. Peek! Pa! The rabbits untied the ropes wrapped around the bear cub's body. When the rabbits had untied all the ropes, cooing, the roar of the mother crimson giant bear, searching for her cub in the distance, echoed. Cooong! Cooong! The bear cub ran towards its mother, calling for her. Phew! You guys did a great job. Sejun reached out his hand to the rabbits jumping into the hole. However, swish! The rabbits used their long ears to change direction, avoiding Sejun's hand, stepping on his shoulder or head, and landing on the ground. And, buzz buzz. The honeybees headed to the cherry tomato field to replenish their energy. On the 166th day of being stranded, Sejun, the rabbits, and the honeybees protected the cave's food supply and peace from the bear cub that would grow into a fearsome predator. Tower 75th floor, Wandering Merchant Association's Secret Inspection Bureau, Director's Office. Agent Jerez, I will give you a new mission. Yes. After the failed capture of Skaram, Jerez, who had been waiting for a new mission, answered enthusiastically. This mission is to investigate a wandering merchant. An investigation? Yes. A new wandering merchant sales have suddenly surged recently, and it's suspicious. Find out what caused the increase in sales. Leave it to me. Here is the information of the wandering merchant to investigate. Study it and dispose of it. Yes. Jerez left the director's office and turned the first page of the document containing information about the subject of his investigation. In the portrait, there was a cat with a bewildered expression. But the face looked quite familiar. Could it be? Jerez hurriedly checked the name. Name? Theo. It was him. The wandering cat merchant who had interfered with his Skaram capture operation. Theo. I got you now. I'll expose your corruption. Jerez gritted his teeth and moved to dig up Theo's corruption. All right. As soon as Sejun opened his eyes, he added a line on the cave wall. It was the morning of the 170th day. Peep! Pa! Peng! The rabbits came out of the burrow, greeting him in the morning. Right. Good morning. Buzz buzz. The honeybees also came and rubbed their tails, greeting him in the morning. Just as Sejun was exchanging morning greetings with the cave family. Guang! The baby bear poked its head through the ceiling hole. The baby bear, which appeared after 4 days, had grown larger than a large dog. If they hadn't let the baby bear out then, just thinking about it was dizzying. However, Kuang. This time, the mother crimson giant bear was with them. The mother crimson giant bear was so big that her body couldn't be seen properly. The flustered Sejun and the rabbit's tired face. No matter how hard the black rabbits had hit, calling the mother like this? Kuroyang. The tower's administrator conveys that the crimson giant bear wants to feed honey to her cub. Fortunately, the tower's administrator interpreted the mother crimson giant bear's words. Oh! Honey! Fortunately, it seemed the baby bear wasn't here because they hurt. Kuroyang. The tower's administrator conveys that the crimson giant bear will protect the surrounding area in exchange for giving honey. All right. If the crimson giant bear protects the surroundings, they can secure enough safety when going outside the cave. As Sejun agreed. Koararurariang. The mother crimson giant bear growled softly and left the cub behind before leaving the area, as a way of marking its territory. Guang. Guang. The baby bear asked for honey as soon as its mother left. Wait. As Sejun wondered how to give the honey. Wait a minute. A good idea came to mind. With that size, the baby bear could lift Sejun, couldn't it? Sejun had the honeybees give a rope to the baby bear. And then, pull. Guyuan. The baby bear effortlessly pulled Sejun up. It was like a baby bear elevator. Juruk. Climbing up the rope, Sejun looked down. He saw the crops he had grown. I'm finally leaving this place. As the rope went up, Sejun's heart raced with tension and anticipation for the 99th floor of the tower. Chuck. Finally, Sejun stepped onto the ground of the 99th floor. However, what is this? What Sejun saw as soon as he left the cave was an endless wasteland. There was not a single blade of grass around. And in the distance, a red beam of light shot into the sky. That must be the waypoint. He need to go there to find a way out of this tower. However, Sejun didn't have the power to go through the monsters to get there. The deal with the crimson giant bear was to protect this place, not to take him there. Of course, he tried to ask the crimson giant bear through the tower's administrator to take him there, but the tower's administrator conveys that the crimson giant bear has refused. The tower's administrator says you'll need to defeat approximately 3,000 monsters to reach the waypoint. Phew. Sejun looked at the waypoint with regret. But still it's better than not being able to see it. Sejun focused on the improved situation and gave the baby bear 2 spoonfuls of honey on its paw. And then, let's plow the field. With 2 shovel rabbits, Sejun began to create a new field on the 99th request for help. On the 170th day of being stranded, when the mother Crimson Giant Bear found her cub farming for the first time. What did this little one eat? The cub had grown tremendously in the meantime. Sniff sniff. The mother Crimson Giant Bear instinctively knew that the sweet smell coming from the cub would be helpful to it. What's the sweet smell? Mom, it's honey, and there's a lot of it in the human's house. The baby bear gestured the size of the water bottle with his arm. Although the mother bear wanted to taste it too, but she held back for the sake of her cub. When her cub explained it to her, she realized there wouldn't be much left for her if she tasted it. The mother Crimson Giant Bear began to search for the human's house from where she found her cub to feed it honey. She also thought it would be nice if the human provided food for her cub. Seeing the cub grow more than it did with her, she assumed that the human must have a lot of food. And after searching the area for a few days, she found the human's house. The mother Crimson Giant Bear proposed a deal to protect the area in exchange for honey. It seemed like a better idea for a continuous supply of honey. The reason why she confidently said she could protect the human's house by herself was that no monster wanted to occupy this desolate land. Occasionally, monsters came by to cross the wasteland, but she could easily drive them away just by patrolling her territory. However, when she was wondering how to convey her message, the tower's administrator offers to pass the message on to the human. The previously inactive tower's administrator stepped forward and mediated the deal with the human. Seeing even the tower's administrator getting involved, the mother Crimson Giant Bear thought there must be something special about the human. Thus, the deal was made. The distance from the nest to the human's house was quite far, and even for the mother Crimson Giant Bear, who was as tall as a 10-story apartment building, traveling back and forth every day was a lot of work. However, she didn't hesitate to travel the long distance to feed her cub honey. Today, the mother Crimson Giant Bear, with her cub in tow, was thinking about where to take a nap while patrolling on her way to the human's house for honey. Thankfully, the human took care of both the cub and even its lunch. The footsteps of the mother Crimson Giant Bear heading to the human's house became lighter. Whether they were mothers on Earth or monster mothers in the tower, they all felt the same about the hassle of preparing meals. All right. Sejun woke up, added another line on the wall, and began the 173rd day. It had been 3 days since he made a deal with the mother Crimson Giant Bear. Buzz buzz. Squeak. Squawk. Squeak. While greeting the poison bees and rabbits in the morning. Growl. The baby bear also greeted them from the hole in the cave ceiling, letting them know it had arrived. The mother Crimson Giant Bear left the baby and went out to patrol. Did you sleep well? Growl. The baby bear answered and waved at the black rabbit. Brother, I'm here. Squeak. The black rabbit coolly waved back and said, Wait, I'll catch some fish and bring them up for lunch later. After Sejun washed his face. Chomp chomp. Audiobook. He had breakfast with the rabbits, consisting of roasted sweet potatoes and carrots. Then he hurried to start his morning farming. Now that there was a field above ground, there was so much to do. Sejun quickly cut off the green onion leaves and started harvesting cherry tomatoes, and the wife rabbit picked tomatoes from the harvested branches. Meanwhile, the sickle rabbit and the cart rabbit spread the cut green onion leaves, and the rabbits with watering can quickly watered the crops. And bang! Bang! The black rabbit caught the piranhas. The number of catches had increased significantly recently due to baby bears. While he worried that catching too many piranhas would reduce their population, but seeing the number of piranhas drawn to the blood, it still seemed sufficient for now. Finally, the 2 shovel rabbits went up in advance and made the field. But the situation was very different from the fertile underground land. Scoop! Scoop! The shovel rabbits dug up the ground and filtered out small stones to make the field. Growl. Thankfully, the baby bear thought they were playing and helped them, flipping the ground with its front paws like a forklift and removing the rocks, which sped up the work. As the morning passed and lunchtime approached, bang! Black Rabbit called Sejun to move the piranhas. Then Sejun, the black rabbit, and the mother rabbit prepared lunch together. They only planned to light a fire in the cave until they were sure the above ground was safe. As the smell of fish rose through the cave hole to the surface. Sniff sniff. Growl. Growl. The baby bear started whining that it was hungry. The smell seemed to stimulate its appetite. Just wait a little longer. Sejun tried to soothe the bear, but growl. Growl. The hungry baby bear continued to cry. Here, eat this and wait. Sejun threw a sweet potato to the baby bear to quiet it down and filled a bag he brought from the vanishing with sweet potatoes and carrots. The remaining rabbits connected 40 uncooked piranhas with a string. Then, pull! Sejun, with the bag on his shoulder and holding 2 bundles of raw piranhas and 5 grilled fish in one hand, grabbed the rope and shouted. To have lunch with the baby bear, they rode the baby bear's elevator to the surface. Jump! Jump! The rabbits quickly climbed onto Sejun's body. Growl! Growl! Knowing that they were bringing its meal, the baby bear eagerly pulled up the rope. The baby bear pulled the rope rhythmically, as it heard when it was pulled up. A bear with a 2-beat rhythm? Sejun came up to the ground. About 5 meters away from the cave entrance, there was a huge rock as tall as Sejun, which wasn't there before. The end of the rope was tied to the rock. Thanks to the rock brought by the mother crimson giant bear at Sejun's request yesterday, they were now able to secure the rope. Sniff sniff. Cooing. The baby bear sniffed the piranhas in Sejun's hand excitedly. Hey, wait. When Sejun spoke sternly. Cooey. The baby bear quickly backed away and sat down. I'm waiting now. Although the baby bear had grown as tall as Sejun, but it still retained its unique cuteness. While the baby bear was waiting, Sejun and the rabbits quickly prepared the meal and began eating. Now, let's eat. Munch munch. Cooey. The baby bear made a happy sound while eating the piranhas. So delicious. Afterward, the baby bear ate honey for dessert, then went to Sejun, who was resting and drinking coffee, and peacefully took a nap with Black Rabbit on Sejun's lap. Why do I feel like something has been taken away from me, meow? With a strange feeling, Theo arrived at the 38th floor of the tower. Hey humans, I'm here, meow. The cat-wandering merchant has arrived. Theo is here. The hunters who had been eagerly waiting for Theo greeted him warmly. In the meantime, the rumor about the magical cherry tomato spread, and about 40 hunters were waiting for Theo. This means that 4 out of the 10 Phoenix Guild teams were waiting for Theo here. The interest in magical cherry tomatoes was getting hotter. Today, I will sell 1,800 magical cherry tomatoes in total, 300 each, through an auction. Theo had been upgrading his storage whenever he received an incentive from Sejun. Since he didn't have any food expenses as he received grilled fish as his weekly pay, so he invested all his money into upgrading his storage. Thanks to that, the bag's storage capacity increased, and now it could hold up to 1,800 cherry tomatoes, which initially could only hold 1,500. 25 tower coins for 300. 27 tower coins for 300. The auction was fierce, but the high prices like last time didn't happen. In this way, Theo sold 1,800 magical cherry tomatoes and earned 220 tower coins. Theo, let's take a picture together. I brought both churro and coffee. Me too. I brought churro and chili powder. Female hunters approached Theo with churro, seasonings, and coffee mix that Sejun wanted in order to take pictures with him. Good job. I also groomed myself and got dressed up. So, line up, meow. Theo lined up the hunters, took pictures with each one, let them touch his paws, and put the items in his storage. Poohoo hut, I can occupy Sejun's lap for a day this time too, meow. As soon as photo time ended, Theo hurriedly climbed the tower to claim Sejun's lap. Upon arriving at the 50th floor, having moved through the merchant passage connecting the 40th to the 50th floor. "Help me, please." He heard a cry for help nearby. Hesitating for a moment, Theo's steps stopped at the sound of the pleading voice. However, suddenly, Sejun's words came to mind. Sejun had warned Theo not to get fooled while wandering around, and one of the most emphasized advice was to simply pass by if someone asked for help on the street. Although it was a cruel instruction, Theo had already been tricked before when he saved a person from drowning and instead of receiving a thank you, had his belongings stolen. "That's right. Sejun told me to just keep going, meow." Ignoring the pleading voice, Theo entered the merchant passage connecting the 50th to the 60th floor. "What's going on?" Having observed Theo's personality on the shopping street, Jerez thought Theo would 100% help them, so they asked for help. Jerez planned to create a chance encounter and accompany Theo failed. After having lunch and resting, Sejun went down to the cave once more and brought up 100 sweet potatoes and 10 carrot tops. He then started planting the sweet potatoes and carrot tops in a roughly 50 square meter field created by the shovel rabbits as a test. He didn't plant cherry tomatoes, as the ground looked too barren. Since the shovel rabbits had already made holes to plant in, Sejun simply buried the sweet potatoes and covered them with soil. "You have planted sweet potatoes." The probability of sweet potatoes taking root increases due to the effect of sowing LV3. Your job experience increases very slightly. The proficiency of sowing LV3 increases very slightly. The proficiency of sowing LV3 increases an additional 5% due to the effect of proficiency increase LV1. While Sejun was diligently planting sweet potatoes. "Grr?" The baby bear tilted his head while watching Sejun's actions. "Why is he burying food in the ground?" "Grr!" Thump! Thump! Having realized something, the baby bear started digging up the sweet potatoes that Sejun had planted and ate them while following Sejun. Chomp! Chomp! Here! Sejun, who was busily planting sweet potatoes, looked back at the strange sounds coming from behind him. He then locked eyes with the baby bear eating the sweet potatoes deliciously. "Grr!" The baby bear looked at Sejun with a smug expression. "I found them all." "No! You!" Sejun's voice rose because of the baby bear, who thought it was a game of finding food and ate the sweet potatoes dug up from the ground. Bam! Hearing Sejun's voice, the black rabbit, who had been catching piranhas in the cave, came up to the surface. "Grr?" The baby bear, still not understanding what was wrong, tilted its head. "Big brother, what did I do wrong?" Bam! The black rabbit began teaching the baby bear what it did wrong. On the 173rd day of being stranded, the baby bear learned the meaning of planting. Chapter 28, Increasing Agility. TL, Hangak. Growling. Sejun woke up to the sound of the baby bear's cry. Lately, the mother crimson giant bear's departure time has been getting earlier and earlier. It felt like she wanted to quickly leave her cub here. Also, the time for her to pick up the cub has been getting later and later. What's going on? Swoosh. Sejun got up and added a line on the cave wall. 5 characters completed on the 4th line. The morning of the 175th day began with the baby bear's cry. Squeak. Meow. Grr. Buzz. The rabbits and poison bees greeted Sejun in the morning. Sejun washed his face and walked towards the dried roasted sweet potatoes he had left on leaves to dry. He had run out of the dried sweet potatoes he had prepared, so he roasted 50 more sweet potatoes yesterday, cut them, and left them to dry in order to make new dried sweet potatoes. Naturally, yesterday's menu was roasted sweet potatoes, and he enjoyed them with the rabbits and the tower administrator. He also learned something new. Sweet potatoes become more delicious after being harvested and left for some time. Thanks to this, everyone ate the sweeter roasted sweet potatoes without realizing that their faces were covered in black soot. Munch. Sejun picked up a well-dried roasted sweet potato and put it in his mouth. Chew chew. The sun-dried sweet potato released its sweetness and warmth in his mouth. It sent a signal to his hungry brain that energy was coming in, waking it. Gulp. It dried well. Sejun confirmed that the roasted sweet potatoes had dried well, then sang a little song as he took out the portion for breakfast and put the rest in his pouch. Hop, hop. The rabbits ate their carrots, waiting for Sejun to give them the dried sweet potatoes. Let's eat the dried sweet potato. Sejun gave each rabbit 3 dried sweet potatoes. He also gave wife rabbit 6 dried sweet potatoes, as her appetite had greatly increased since she became pregnant. After having dried sweet potatoes for breakfast, they started their morning farming. Sejun harvested the cherry tomatoes right after cutting the leaves. Oh, this is a big one. Slice. Sejun cut the branch with the cherry tomatoes hanging in clusters. You have simultaneously harvested 10 well-ripened magical cherry tomatoes. Your job experience increases slightly. Your proficiency of harvesting LV3 increases slightly. The effect of proficiency increase LV1 increases harvesting LV3's proficiency by an additional 5%. Harvesting LV3's proficiency is filled, and the level increases. A new effect is added to harvesting LV3. You have gained 200 experience points. Oh! Sejun hurriedly checked his skill as he received a message that a new effect had been added to the harvesting skill. Job skill, harvesting LV4. When harvesting, slightly underripe or overripe fruits will be adjusted to their optimal state. There is a very low chance of harvesting a crop 1 grade higher than what can normally be harvested. Although the probability is very low, the ability to harvest a higher grade made Sejun feel better just by imagining the even more delicious cherry tomatoes. Does a skill effect get added when the job skill reaches level 4? Sejun decided to check when his other job skills would reach level 4, and then went back to harvesting cherry tomatoes and brought them to Wife Rabbit. While harvesting cherry tomatoes, Pyong, the black rabbit called Sejun. It was lunchtime. All right. Sejun went to the pond and moved the piranhas the black rabbit caught to the fire, seasoning them with salt and pepper, and grilled them. However, since white rabbits cannot eat pepper, their grilled fish was seasoned only with salt. As the grilled fish were almost done, Kuyang, Kuyang. The baby bear, attracted by the delicious smell, started to cry for food. But now Sejun and the rabbits were skillful, they didn't panic and packed all the items and food. And pull! Coo! Young! Coo! Young! The baby bear began to pull Sejun and the rabbits up. When they reached the ground, there were about 10 branches, the size of Sejun's forearm, piled up next to the baby bear. Sejun had asked the baby bear to bring branches of similar thickness to his forearm, and since yesterday, the baby bear had been collecting a few at a time. Sejun had plans to make ladders and other useful necessities, but he couldn't find the time due to farming. In the future, as more baby rabbits are born, there will be more helping hands, but Sejun's plans and the number of crops he wants to plant mean that the fields will expand more quickly. Sejun thought that farming only required strength and stamina, but speed was also necessary. So, he planned to increase his agility stat as well. Kuyang? The baby bear looked at Sejun with a proud expression, as if asking for praise. Did I do a good job? You did a good job. Pang pang. Sejun patted the now bigger baby bear's hip and began to eat lunch. Here, try this. Sejun handed the roasted sweet potato to the baby bear. The baby bear didn't get to eat roasted sweet potato yesterday, so Sejun had saved 5 for him. Thanks to this, the tower administrator got upset, asking why the baby bear had a separate serving of roasted sweet potato. Nyam. The baby bear didn't even peel the roasted sweet potato and put it in his mouth in one bite. Kuyang. As the baby bear chewed on the grilled sweet potato, he shook his body to show how delicious it was. It's so delicious. Nyam. 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 The baby bear kept putting roasted sweet potatoes in his mouth. And then, Kyung. The baby bear, holding the last roasted sweet potato, hesitated, then got up. Here! Pyong? Sejun and the black rabbit, who had never seen the baby bear get up before finishing his food, looked at the baby bear in puzzlement. Puck! The baby bear went to the field, dug up the ground, and buried his roasted sweet potato. Then he covered the sweet potato with dirt and patted the ground. The cub who learned planting thought that anything would grow if planted in the ground, so it planted a roasted sweet potato. Phut! Sejun burst into laughter at the cub's absurd behavior. The black rabbit hurried over to the cub. It was time for another lesson from its big brother. Peng! When the black rabbit told the cub to dig out the roasted sweet potato again. Kuyong! The cub tilted its head. But, big brother, you said that if I plant this, I can eat a lot later. Peng! The black rabbit shook its head vigorously in response. No, you can't plant something that's already cooked. Kuyong! Enlightened by the black rabbit's words, the cub dug out the roasted sweet potato, put it in its mouth, and returned to its spot. After the pleasant lunchtime, Sejun offered his lap to the cub and black rabbit, drank coffee, and took a brief break. And then after some time, it's time to get up now. He woke up the napping cub and black rabbit and went to the field to plant the carrot tops left by the rabbits. But at that moment, here? Why does the ground smell fishy? A strong fishy smell wafted from the ground. Sejun felt something was wrong and dug up the smelly spot. Gasp! Sejun was startled by what appeared from the ground. A piranha head greeted Sejun with a grin. Why did you bury this standing up? Sejun was annoyed and looked around for the culprit who planted it. Kuyong! Meanwhile, the energetic baby bear was digging up the ground with his front paws like a forklift. He was probably thinking about planting more piranhas there. It seemed like the cub needed some more lessons. Top floor, 75th level. Theo arrived at the shopping area, eagerly anticipating sitting on Sejun's lap and eating a treat. Teapot, blanket, 5 glass jars for honey, tongs. Teapot. Theo went into a general store, reciting the items Sejun ordered so as not to forget them, bought the goods, and left the store. PFFFT. Another successful haggle today. Theo managed to haggle down the price from 2.1 tower coins to 1.7 tower coins, saving 0.4 tower coins. On the way to the last stop, the blacksmith's. Hello, Theo. Someone approached and spoke. Here? You? Theo recognized the person. Aren't you the fool who almost got scammed by Skaram? Wyas, that's right. My name is Jerez. Theo's words nearly brought Jerez to tears, but he managed to hold back and respond. Having already found out through an investigation that Theo had been scammed by Skaram, Jerez was even more furious. To be treated like a fool by another fool. What's the matter? I couldn't repay you last time, so I thought I'd at least treat you to a meal. I refuse. I'm busy. Theo coldly passed by Jerez. Theo had to hurry to the blacksmith and get the equipment for Sejun. Theo's intuition was telling him something. Something feels off. Someone is after Sejun's lap. Theo, how about a cup of tea, at least? Jerez hurriedly followed Theo. Why are you following me? Theo, who arrived at the blacksmith, asked Jerez, who had followed him. Ah, I have business at the blacksmith as well. Jerez had impulsively followed Theo since his offer was rejected. All right. Theo paid the blacksmith 13 tower coins, like last time, for the equipment lottery and went to the lottery corner. Theo carefully examined the equipment in the lottery corner. Then, oh, that one. There was an item that caught Theo's attention. As Theo was about to grab the item. Wait a minute. You're not really going to choose that, are you? Unable to hold back, Jerez stepped in after secretly watching. That was just too much. That's right. Why? Why, you ask? How can you choose that from a blacksmith? Jerez pointed at the item Theo was about to pick up. There was a straw hat that did not fit the blacksmith's atmosphere at all. To Jerez, it was 100% a useless item. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Theo confidently chose the straw hat and left the blacksmith. Sejun told me to pick whatever I want. Sejun had given Theo full authority over the lottery. Ah, this isn't it. Jerez watched Theo leave the blacksmith and return to the secret inspection bureau without success. Jerez, have you heard the news? Jerez's co-worker agent approached him. What news? They say a thief broke into Landlord Grid's warehouse on the 55th floor. Really? Jerez secretly thought it served him right. Landlord Grid was infamous as a wicked landlord who exploited tenant farmers. And here's the list of stolen items. The director wants you to take a look. All right. Jerez quickly skimmed through the list and flipped through a few pages. Then, here. A familiar item caught his eye on the stolen items list. An ordinary straw hat. It was similar to the straw hat he saw at the blacksmith earlier. However, nah, it can't be. There are hundreds of straw hats like that in any general store. Jerez closed the stolen items list and thought of ways to investigate Theo, which was his mission. In the afternoon, Sejun re-educated the baby bear on planting and harvested seeds from the carrot flowers that he had been putting off due to his busy schedule. The stored amount of carrots had been reduced by half, so the rabbits were urging Sejun. Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. As Sejun shook the completely dry carrot flowers, the carrot seeds fell down. You have obtained 50 carrot seeds from the carrot flowers. Your job experience has increased slightly. Your proficiency of seed harvesting LV1 has increased slightly. Due to the effect of proficiency increase LV1, your proficiency of seed harvesting LV1 has increased by an additional 5%. You have obtained 35 carrot seeds from the carrot flowers. In total, Sejun obtained about 2,000 carrot seeds. Sejun and the rabbits planted half of the harvested carrot seeds in the cave and the other half in the above-ground field. And when they finished planting all the carrots in the above-ground field, you have created a 250 square meter carrot field. You have gained 500 experience points. You have leveled up. You have obtained 1 bonus stat. Sejun raised his agility to increase his work speed with the bonus stat. On the 175th day of being stranded, Sejun planted 2,000 carrots and increased his agility. Chapter 29, Taking a Nap Together. TL, Hanguk. Day 177 of being stranded. Today, before the black rabbit called, Sejun went to the pond first to move the piranhas and prepared lunch. His work speed increased after raising his agility, giving him a bit of spare time in the morning farming. There was no clock to measure the time accurately, but he could definitely feel that he was faster. Since there was some time left until lunchtime, Sejun went to the green onion field, where he had harvested seeds from the green onion flowers and planted them, and cut a few green onions. And then, slice, slice, slice. He thinly sliced the green onions with a dagger and garnished the grilled fish with them. While Sejun and the black rabbit were preparing lunch, the white rabbits finished their own tasks and helped in preparing the meal. Starting today, the white rabbits are eating separately in the cave. The reason is that the wife rabbit's belly has grown so much that she can no longer control her body. It seems that the baby rabbits will be born soon. Pull. Coo. Young. Coo. Young. The baby bear pulled Sejun and the black rabbit, who had prepared lunch, and the 3 of them ate lunch above ground. Sejun took a bite of the grilled fish seasoned with salt and garnished with green onions, and chewed it together with a dried sweet potato. He wanted to create the feeling of eating rice as much as possible. Chew chew. The familiar taste was similar. As the salty fish entered his mouth, his brain naturally thought of white rice. The dried sweet potato was also a carbohydrate, so it felt a bit similar, but it couldn't replicate the texture and taste of rice. Ah, I want to eat rice. Sejun looked at the vast wasteland and imagined rice ripening as he ate the grilled fish and dried sweet potato, but he still felt unsatisfied. Someday, I'll eat rice. Until recently, Sejun was happy just to be able to eat sweet potatoes, but human greed had no end. As Sejun set a new farming goal. Buzz buzz. 10 poison honeybees came up from the cave entrance and scattered in pairs, patrolling about 300 meters around. From the day Sejun came up to the ground, the poison honeybees also followed him up like this and patrolled. They were protecting Sejun. Interesting. Sejun watched the poison honeybees flying around and finished his meal. And then, plop, HR. The black rabbit and baby bear naturally approached Sejun, who was drinking coffee, to take a nap. The black rabbit had a small body, so it didn't matter, but the baby bear pushed its head forward recklessly. However, Sejun's lap was too narrow for the baby bear, which had grown bigger in just a few days. HR. It seemed frustrated that it couldn't sleep in Sejun's arms as it used to. After tossing and turning a few times, the baby bear changed its strategy. The baby bear lay down sideways, sticking its belly to Sejun's back and curled up to sleep. It looked as if Sejun was in the baby bear's arms. Gr. The baby bear fell asleep as soon as it lay down. Gulp. Sejun took a sip of coffee and completely leaned his body onto the baby bear's soft body. Soft and cozy. Feeling the warmth as if he were covering himself with a blanket for the first time in a while, Sejun fell asleep. How long had they slept? Slap. Slap. Sejun woke up from the sound of something hitting his thigh. Squeak. The father rabbit had come up to wake him, as Sejun hadn't come down. He must have fallen into a deep sleep because the baby bear's belly was so soft. Guys, let's wake up. Groan times. Groan times. Sejun woke up the sleeping black rabbit and baby bear. These days, the black rabbit practiced with the baby bear in the afternoon. More precisely, while the baby bear was playing, the black rabbit was desperately fighting. Bounce. Plop. 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 The black rabbit tried hard to hit the baby bear with his hammer while dodging the bear's front paws, but groan. The baby bear excitedly rushed towards the black rabbit. It seemed to think they were playing tag. While the two practiced and played, Sejun planted the tops of the carrots he had brought up and went down to the cave to harvest cherry tomatoes. And then, rustle. As he was cutting the cherry tomato branches for a while. Buzz. He saw a single poison bee carrying something the size of a fist with great difficulty, leaving the cave. What is that? Sejun, driven by curiosity, stopped harvesting cherry tomatoes and followed the poison bee up the rope to the ground. What is that? When Sejun asked the poison bee, which was searching for something around. Thump. Instead of answering, the poison bee carefully placed what it had been carrying on Sejun's hand and returned to the cave. It had left the disposal to Sejun. What is this? Sejun carefully picked up the thing, which looked like an ivory-colored larva. You have acquired the poison bee queen's cocoon. Poison bee queen's cocoon? The fact that a message appeared meant it was an item. Sejun examined the cocoon closely. Poison bee queen's cocoon. A poison bee larva is preparing to metamorphose into a poison bee queen by consuming only royal jelly to the power of 1. There are 10 days left until metamorphosis. It will consider the first creature it sees after metamorphosis as its owner. The poison bees had come out to abandon it because a new poison bee queen was about to be born, even though it was not the time for the division of the hive. However, it was an opportunity for Sejun to get a second beehive. Sejun dug a hole in the shade near the rock where the rope was tied and carefully placed the poison bee queen's cocoon. Then, he brought up a bunch of green onion leaves from the cave and covered the cocoon. Will this work? Sejun didn't know how to ensure the safe emergence of the poison bee queen from the cocoon, so he minimized external stress for the time being. He then resumed harvesting cherry tomatoes, helped the other white rabbits with their tasks, and another day passed. 178th day morning. Gare. The baby bear announced its arrival at the cave entrance. As always, the baby bear arrived early today. Yeah. Hi. Sejun and the rabbits woke up and busily prepared for the morning farming. Munch munch. Gulp gulp. Sejun had sweet potato for breakfast, while the rabbits had carrots. Just then, I will take revenge, meow. Theo's voice was heard. Here? What revenge? Sejun hurriedly climbed up the rope. Theo, who rushed to secure Sejun's lap. Meow meow meow. Finally, I'm going to be on Park Sejun's lap, meow. Theo happily hummed while moving toward the cave where Sejun was. At that moment, thud, thud, he saw Crimson Giant Bear was digging the ground above Sejun's cave. It was this, meow. Theo hurried here with a sense of unease that something was targeting Sejun's lap. Sejun must have already been dead. Why is it that ominous thoughts are never wrong, meow? Theo mistakenly thought that the Crimson Giant Bear was burying Sejun's bones. If the Crimson Giant Bear had really eaten Sejun, it wouldn't have left any bones, but the enraged Theo was not in a situation where he could discern reason right now. How dare you kill Park Sejun, meow? Stealing my comfortable lap, meow. I haven't even used up all of my representative time, meow. I will take revenge, meow. Clang. Theo took out the hidden claws and rushed towards the baby bear. At that moment, Theo, you're here. Sejun climbed up the cave with the rope and stuck his head out. Oh. That's right, meow. I'm back, meow. Theo quickly changed direction and charged towards Sejun's face. Thump. Get off. Sejun told Theo, who clung tightly to his face. Pooh hut. Okay, meow. Theo, relieved to see Sejun safe, smiled, climbed down from Sejun's face, and jumped to the ground. But what's with this Crimson Giant Bear, meow? It accidentally fell into the cave and we became friends. Now its mother is protecting the area around here in exchange for giving honey to the baby bear. Sejun fully climbed up to the ground and answered. Is that so, meow? More importantly, did everything go well? That's right, meow. I completed all the tasks, sold everything, and came back, meow. Theo confidently replied and climbed onto Sejun's lap. And then, this time, I sold 1,800 cherry tomatoes for 220 tower coins, meow. Theo took out the money from the bag and handed it to Sejun. Although the amount had decreased compared to last time, it didn't matter. Higher-grade cherry tomatoes were waiting to be released. Good job. Here's a 5% incentive. Sejun gave Theo 11 tower coins. Since Theo was doing a good job, Sejun increased Theo's incentive to 5%, which was the representative rate. I have this too, meow. Theo took out the items Sejun had requested, along with churro, seasonings, and coffee. How many hours of my representative time available now, meow? Theo, with eyes full of anticipation, waited for Sejun's words. Adding the previous time, it's 38 hours. Got it, meow. I'll use up all of that time, meow. Having realized the preciousness of Sejun's lap, Theo decided to enjoy the lap for a long time. Good job. Sejun stroked Theo's head and tore a churro, cat treat, to put it in Theo's mouth. That's right, meow. I worked really hard, meow. Chomp chomp chomp. While Theo was bragging and enthusiastically licking the churro. Lick lick. A strange tongue intruded. What, meow? Gare? The baby bear tilted its head and looked at Theo. Who is this brother? The baby bear fearlessly licked Theo's churro. Hark! Hark! Sejun tightly grabbed Theo, who was causing a fuss and threatening to hit the baby bear with his claws, preventing his rampage. However, Jia! The startled baby bear began to scream. And then, roar! Thud! 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 The mother Crimson Giant Bear, who hadn't gone far, rushed over upon hearing the baby bear's cries. Gare! Gare! The baby bear ran to the mother Crimson Giant Bear and pointed at Theo with its paw, telling her what Theo had done. Ah! Hello! I'm Theo, the wandering cat merchant. Theo hurriedly got off Sejun's lap and bowed 90 degrees to greet the mother Crimson Giant Bear. Theo, whether confused or not, suddenly began speaking standard Korean, forgetting his dialect. Roa! The mother Crimson Giant Bear growled at Theo, staring at him. Yes. I was wrong. We will get along from now on. Theo earnestly apologized, unsure if the bear understood him. They just had a small fight. Nothing happened. Sejun also hurriedly defended Theo, feeling responsible for the situation. Theo had come a long way, only to encounter this upon arrival. Rumble! The mother crimson giant bear snorted loudly, warning Theo not to touch her cub again, and left to resume her patrol. Hunyang! Mio hiccup! Mio hiccup! Theo, relieved, suddenly started hiccuping. Okay. It's over. Calm down. Thanks for, Mio hiccup, standing up for me, Mio hiccup, thank you, meow. Theo hiccuped while expressing his gratitude to Sejun. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you beforehand. Sejun hugged Theo and patted his chest. And then, snore. Theo, seemingly calmed by Sejun's touch, quickly fell asleep. Grr. The baby bear, thinking it was nap time since Theo was asleep, leaned against Sejun's back and lay down. Plop. The black rabbit also hopped onto Sejun's lap. Guys? Snore. Yawn. Grr. Instead of answering, he just heard low snoring. They had all fallen asleep. Oh, what the heck? Here. As Sejun resigned himself to sleep as well, he noticed a straw hat next to him. It must have flown over when the mother crimson giant bear snorted earlier. Good. Sejun, who needed something to block the sun, put on the straw hat and fell asleep. On day 178 of the being stranded, Theo realized that causing trouble with the baby bear would lead to big problems. Let's get along from now on, baby bear, meow. But please, just eat a little less churu. Theo muttered in his sleep. Chapter 30, Bountiful Harvest. TL, Hancock. Munch, munch, munch. Eileen hummed as she put 10 magical cherry tomatoes in her mouth and chewed. Squish. Chomp. In the past, she would need to eat dozens at once to fully taste them, but recently, as the grade of the cherry tomatoes had risen to D, their flavor had become richer. Just 10 of them were enough to enjoy the taste fully. As Eileen happily enjoyed the taste of the cherry tomatoes. Thump. Here. Eileen was surprised by the vibration she felt in her chest. My dragon heart. It was very faint and lasted for less than a second. However, since it was a pulse she had never experienced in her 200 years of life, Eileen recognized it immediately. Her dragon heart, which hadn't beaten in 200 years, briefly moved on its own, absorbing mana. The mana was absorbed by the dragon heart as if a drop of water fell on the cracked, parched ground, scattering and disappearing without a trace in an instant. But Eileen could feel it clearly. There was a change in her dragon heart. And the reason for that change was, Eileen put 20 D-grade magical cherry tomatoes in her mouth at once, hoping to get a more definite feeling this time. And squish. Chomp. Gulp. She chewed the cherry tomatoes deliciously, swallowed them, and then focused on her dragon heart. A moment later, thump. Once again, her dragon heart briefly moved on its own, absorbing mana. She had only thought that the humans' crops were tasty, but it seemed that they also had the ability to heal her dragon heart. Hey! Come to think of it, the time for my seizure has already passed. In the administrator's space of the tower where Eileen was currently, the mana density was much higher than in other places, so even if her dragon heart didn't beat, Eileen's breathing alone could supply mana to her body. However, there was a limit to this, and every 10 years or so, Eileen would have seizures due to mana deficiency. And with each seizure, the cycle would shorten by a few days. But it had been more than 10 years and a few days since the last seizure, and she still hadn't had one. From now on, I will protect this human. Although the human was already precious to her for providing her with delicious food, those who could make her dragon heart beat were even more precious. The great black dragon Eileen Pratani, 200 years old. Finally, she found someone she wanted to protect. Eileen hurriedly looked into the crystal ball to see what the human is doing. And then, no! He found another UN-appraised item while I was away. It's dangerous. I knew the human couldn't manage without me. Eileen quickly woke up Sejun, who was napping. The tower's administrator, Straw, Appraisal, says. Sejun woke up because of the tower's administrator's message. The tower's administrator is angry, asking why are you wearing an UN-appraised item again? The tower's administrator says, didn't they tell you that using UN-appraised items recklessly could cause big trouble? Hey! This was an item. At the words of the tower's administrator, Sejun quickly put Theo, who he was holding, on his lap and hurriedly took off the straw hat to examine it. It looked so common that he thought it was just an ordinary straw hat. Farmer's straw hat. Usage restrictions: LV 20, strength 20 or more, stamina 20 or more. Creator: private. Grade: D. Skill: Earth's Blessing LV1. Earth's Blessing LV1. A weak blessing of the earth is bestowed on all the land you own. The recovery speed of stamina increases slightly. Wow! Although there was only a slight increase in the speed of stamina recovery, there was no limit to the size of the farmland. It would be a great item if it weren't for the usage restrictions. At LV 20, having more than 20 strength and stamina was like saying not to wear it at that level. Sejun, who was worried about the wasteland on the surface, was very disappointed that he couldn't use the Earth's Blessing skill of the straw hat because of the usage restrictions. The tower's administrator suggests appraising the straw hat first. All right. Give me the quest. Since it still had the purpose of blocking sunlight, Sejun decided to appraise it. A quest has been activated. Quest: send the UN-appraised straw hat to the tower's administrator. Reward: none. Refusal: cannot appraise. An additional quest has been activated. Quest: promise the tower's administrator to give them crops containing the energy of the blue moon during the next blue moon. Reward: appraised straw hat. Refusal: unable to receive the straw hat. Crops containing the energy of the blue moon. The tower's administrator says it's absolutely necessary. All right. Sejun readily accepted. He would be able to harvest more and better crops in the future. There was no need to hold back. Now, appraise it. The straw hat disappeared from Sejun's hand. You have completed the quest. The tower's administrator uses the appraisal skill on the farmer's straw hat. The tower's administrator is happy with the appraised item. It was strange. Why was the tower's administrator happy? The tower's administrator congratulates you on acquiring an amazing item. The tower's administrator now asks you to promise Eileen Pratani the crops containing the energy of the blue moon during the next blue moon. Eileen Pratani? The tower's administrator arrogantly says that you should take it as an honor that they are revealing their name. What's with the name? Sejun grumbled. The tower's administrator is excited, stomping the floor and saying that this is a great honor. Yes, it's an honor to know the name of Eileen Pratani. Sejun quickly catered to Eileen's wishes in order to receive the straw hat. The administrator is satisfied. The tower's administrator urges you to make the promise. I, Park Sejun, promise to give Eileen Pratani crops imbued with the energy of the blue moon when I harvest them during the next blue moon. The tower administrator says this is the first promise between you and them. First promise. The tower administrator spoke meaningfully. Sejun felt something was strange, but he soon focused on the straw hat that appeared in front of him. Catching it just in time, Sejun grabbed the falling straw hat. Quest completed. As a quest completion reward, you have acquired the appraised straw hat, relic, St. Patrick's straw hat. Relic. A named piece of equipment with the word relic attached. This was the first time Sejun had heard of a relic. Sejun checked the options of the straw hat. Relic, St. Patrick's straw hat. This is the straw hat that Farmer Patrick, who was called the saint for saving many starving people with his farming, always wore. It is one of the 10 relics that exist in the tower. The restrictions and grade on relics are lifted depending on the job of the wearer. Usage restrictions: those with a farming-related job. Creator: Patrick. Grade: undecided. Skill: Earth's Blessing LV1. Only 10 in the tower. Sejun was surprised by the extreme rarity of the item as he checked the options of the straw hat. The original grade and stat restrictions had disappeared, but a new restriction, those with a farming-related job, was added. As a tower farmer, it was good news for Sejun. The grade was strangely undecided. Considering the description stating that the ability grows depending on the wearer's job, it seemed that the grade would be determined when worn. There was no change in the skill. However, when the item's grade was determined, new skills might appear. With an excited heart, Sejun put on the straw hat. Relic, St. Patrick's straw hat checks the wearer's job. Tower farmer, D, is confirmed. The grade of the relic, St. Patrick's straw hat, rises to D. As Sejun expected, the item grade followed the wearer's job level. E grade restriction lifted. Skill, Earth's Blessing LV2 restriction lifted. Skill, Farmer's Physique LV1 unlocked. D grade restriction is lifted. Skill, Earth's Blessing LV3 restriction lifted. Skill, Farmer's Physique LV2 restriction lifted. Skill, Bountiful Harvest LV1 unlocked. Wow! The item options were amazing, considering that there were only 10 relics in the tower. Sejun checked Earth's Blessing and the newly unlocked skills. Earth's Blessing LV3. A slightly strong blessing of the earth covers all owned farmland. The recovery speed of stamina increases slightly. Farmer's Physique LV2. A farmer's physique should always be strong. All stats increase by 3. Bountiful Harvest LV1. There is a very low chance that a bountiful harvest will occur in some owned farmland for a week. Up to 100 square meters. When a bountiful harvest occurs, harvest yield increases by 50%. As expected, Theo's hand was golden. This draw was a great success. Well done, Representative Theo. Excited, Sejun patted Theo's front paw. At that moment, meow. Park Sejun, give me some churu meow. Theo sleep-talked. Sure. I'll give you as much as you want. Feeling good, Sejun opened a churu and held it to Theo's mouth. Lick, lick, lick. It's delicious meow. Even while sleeping, Theo diligently licked the churu. As soon as Theo finished the churu, Sejun got up from his seat. I want to sleep more meow. Grumble. Gah. As Sejun got up, the critters showed their sleep protest. Get up quickly. Due to his nap, Sejun's work had been delayed. He hurriedly woke up Theo, the black rabbit, and the bear cub. And then, give me churu meow. I didn't get to eat it properly earlier meow. Theo, who was now fully awake, asked Sejun for churu. Theo, you just ate a churu, didn't you? What are you talking about meow? Are you making fun of me meow? I definitely ate it in my dream, meow. Theo was wronged. He had clearly eaten it in his dream, but Park Sejun insisted that he had eaten it in reality. All right. Here. Sejun handed Theo a new churu and went down to the cave for farming. Theo also followed Sejun down to the cave and settled in Sejun's designated seat. If he stayed on the ground, the bear cub might steal his precious churu. Chew, chew, chew. Theo started eating churu diligently. It wasn't as tasty as eating on Park Sejun's lap, but churu was still delicious meow. As Theo leisurely enjoyed his churu and spent a peaceful time. Phew! It's done. Thanks to the farmer's physique skill, all of Sejun's stats increased by 3, allowing him to cut all the leaves quickly without getting tired. And then he went to the cherry tomato field. Snip! Sejun cut the cherry tomato branches and began to harvest enthusiastically. You simultaneously harvest 4 well-ripened magical cherry tomatoes. Your job experience increases slightly. The proficiency of harvesting LV4 increases slightly. Due to the effect of proficiency increase LV1, the proficiency of harvesting LV4 increases by an additional 5%. You gain 80 experience points. At that moment, hey! Suddenly, A golden aura descended on the surrounding ground. And then, a notification popped up. Bountiful Harvest LV1 is activated. Bountiful Harvest applied on the 30 square meter of magical cherry tomato field. Harvest yield will increase by 50% for the next week. Sejun's magical cherry tomato field is now experiencing a bountiful harvest.